Hello, it's Davida here. Welcome to Go for the Very Best. Now today I'd like to share the tale of two kingdoms. When God created his universe, he created an invisible universe to start off with. And he was the king of that kingdom. He had subjects. His subjects were angels. But then God decided that he wanted to extend his kingdom into another region, into the visible realm. So he decided to create the earth. Now, in the meantime, one of his subjects, one of his citizens had rebelled against him, and that was Lucifer, his archangel. Now, Lucifer rebelled against God, and he managed to convince some of God's angels to join in with his rebellion. So they went away and they created a second kingdom, and this was the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of Satan. Now, this kingdom, Satan was the king. God's kingdom was a very good kingdom because everything in that kingdom came from the king. God's nature was good. God himself was love. God himself was full of joy. So all the goodness of God was found in his kingdom. And his citizens enjoyed the presence and the wealth and the love of the king. But in Satan's kingdom, things weren't the same. Satan was evil. He had actually been transformed into an evil, wicked thing, contrary to his original nature that God had created him in. And all he could do was give out oppression, give out wickedness. He was an angry king. He was an evil king. He was a wicked king. He was a liar. He was a thief. Everything negative. That's who he was. And all he could give his citizens was all he had. His negativity, his wickedness, his anger, his oppression, death itself. He was the embodiment of death, while God was the embodiment of life. So God's kingdom was full of life. It was vibrant with life. Everything to do with life was part of God's kingdom because God himself was this life. So God continued his expansion work, and he expanded his invisible kingdom into this visible realm. He created the earth. He created it to be a kingdom like the kingdom of heaven. That was his plan. Now what he did was he now put Adam and Eve in this earthly kingdom to rule and reign over this kingdom. So they were supposed to be the kings of this kingdom, even as he was the king of heaven. Now, God's intention wasn't to let them rule over the earth on their own. His plan was to be rulers with him, to rule the earth with them. So his plan was to rule the earth through his relationship with them. So he was going to rule the earth through them. Now, Satan, God's enemy, also had a plan in mind. His plan was to get Adam and Eve on his side so that he could take over this earthly kingdom. So he tempted Adam and Eve, and they fell for him, and they went with him. They believed him. He deceived them, and they went with him. And when they followed him, they paid allegiance to him. They joined in his rebellion against the heavenly king. So now Adam and Eve and Satan and all his fallen angels now became enemies of God. Adam and Eve left the kingdom of light, the kingdom of God, the kingdom where there were blessings, the kingdom where there was plenty. They left that kingdom. They forfeited that kingdom. So Satan started his rule over this earth because Adam and Eve handed their kingdom over to him. But here comes Jesus. Jesus came with a message that the kingdom of God is at hand. Now, people had lived under the oppression of Satan. They'd been oppressed. They've been sick. They've been diseased. They've been poor. They've been hungry. They've been lonely. They have been at war with one another. They knew no joy. They were tired of this oppression that Satan had brought them into. Now, these people who are suffering under Satan's rule, these people who are captives of Satan, they didn't know the way out. of Satan's kingdom. They knew that there must have been something better, but they didn't know the way to the Father. So here comes Jesus. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. God is saying to you that you don't have to remain in Satan's kingdom. There is a better kingdom. There is God's kingdom, where there's love, where there's joy, where there's righteousness, where there's peace, where there's plenty for everyone. The solution is come to God, come into his kingdom, come to the good King. Make peace with him. And when you make peace with him, all the blessings of the kingdom will be yours. So when Jesus was teaching his disciples in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, saying, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things shall be added unto you. He was telling people to come out of Satan's kingdom. Come out of Satan's kingdom. Come into God's kingdom. Come to the good King. Come, ask for forgiveness, and he will give you his righteousness. He will clothe you with righteousness, and you will have right standing with him. And when you do that, all the blessings of the kingdom are yours to receive. Ask him for whatever you want, and you can have it. Believe that you receive, and you shall have it. He's a generous God. He'll give you more than what you need. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.